What did you make of that debate last night?
Well, here's what I usually have to, you know the Bongino rule? Yeah, who listens to my show? Okay. So we've got a few.
Everybody.
So there's 2 or 3. There's 2. My statistics course and my math skills are terrible, but what do I always tell you with the Bongino rule? I say give it about 24 hours to let a story brew. So I generally, like Tucker, will go and listen to what most of the jerkwads in the mainstream media have to say, and then I naturally assume the opposite is true.
Fair.
Right? So when I heard this morning, after watching the debate and doing the live show, any of you guys tune into our live stream? Yeah, man. We kicked some ass. Did you see that? We were like number 5 in the world. We beat all these billion-dollar media companies in my attic, in a studio. It's like falling apart. Seriously, with like wires hanging out of the ceiling. We did that. Well, you all did it for us, and we appreciate it. So I get up in the morning, and having run for office and having been on TV and in radio, I realized, you know, when you run and you got skin in the game, that everything you know about politics is probably wrong from the candidate side. It's only 2 things. Anyone know what it is? Man, you got my homies here, my man, brother. I love this guy. I'm gonna come down. If my knee wasn't bad, jump off the stage and hug you. It's 2 things if you listen to my show. And if anyone tells you it's anything different than these 2 things, promptly dismiss them as ignorant morons. Politics are snapshots and sound bites. That's it. Guys like me and Tucker and all of you politically active patriots, you guys don't need to be convinced. You guys don't need a white paper to understand that high marginal tax rates suck and all that. You don't need that, okay? The Americans out there who are busy, and I don't hold anything against them, who are busy and working in at soccer games, right? They see a picture and they see a soundbite and they hear a soundbite. That's it. So when I woke up this morning, I noticed that through the snapshots and soundbites lens, I'm looking at the snapshots of Kamala Harris. And I'm like, someone gonna show me the good one? She's like, no, I'm serious. What the hell was it? The thinker pose? Like from the famous statue? Kamala, who's never been known as a thinker, she's like, the school bus, and the greatest clip ever, Trump with Tucker. And then they get on the school bus. So I'm like, okay, where's the snapshot? Everyone has a snapshot. Remember even George W. Bush, he was debating Gore, and Gore came over. Remember he gave him the look, and that was the snapshot, right? Where was the snapshot? So the media's telling me it was this big, resounding victory. President Kamala Harris, ladies and gentlemen, everyone go home. And I'm like, okay, there are no snapshots, so I'm gonna have to clean this up for my audience, some of them may believe this BS. And then I said, well, clearly there'll be a soundbite. I won't take advantage of my opponent's youth and inexperience. The 1980s called for their foreign policy back. There's gonna be one of those, right? And I noticed something. There wasn't. It's like magic. And you know why? Because the left-wing media goons have a problem right now. And the problem's Elon Musk. They did not want to, I'm serious, and it's a real problem. They did not want to spread the BS sound bites around because they were all fake. None of them were real. They were all inauthentic nonsense. You know, the fine people thing, we've heard it. The bloodbath, we've heard that too. There's no soundbite either. So sorry, I promise I'll keep my other answers tighter, but long-winded answer to a very simple question. That debate was at best a push. And if it's a push and Trump is ahead, which I believe he is, then I take it as a W for us. So don't believe the hype. Sorry.
No, that wasn't long-winded at all. I think that's really smart, and I think you're absolutely right. I kept thinking, you know, you're frustrated. It's just like anything. It's like watching your kids play sports. Like, God, you know, don't you see that? You know, whatever. Yeah. But, and the closer you are and the more emotionally invested you are, you know, the more emotional you are about it. But I didn't see any moment in that where someone's like, I'm really not sure who to vote for. Oh, I'm voting Kamala Harris.
Yeah. I think when you run for office and you see this too, you start to figure out too that political narratives that the mainstream media tell you are damaging are typically not. The only damaging political narrative, or what would have hurt Trump last night, because I believe he's ahead. Now, is there going to be some cheating and scamming? Yeah, in a fair election, I believe he's ahead. So if he's ahead, all he had to do was push last night. But we were told he lost. I went on my show today and said he didn't. So if he lost, there had to be a damaging and destructive political narrative. The only damaging and destructive political narratives are ones that do this one thing. They change your pre-existing notion of who a candidate is, right? I'll give you a quick example, right?
That's smart, that's right.
You hear a story about Ted Cruz in a strip club. It hurts. That's gonna ding him up. That's not his reputation. Everybody believes him to be a far different guy, which he is. That's a damaging story. Yet you hear that story, say like some country singer who's a real party or something, runs for office, and you hear he was in a strip club last week. Is it gonna it's not gonna do anything. That's why all those stories about Donald Trump, people had already seen him on the Howard Stern show talking about being a young single guy in New York. Like none of it hurt. So I ask you, if Trump got hurt last night, what changed your mind? Good luck. That's why everybody's quiet, because you know I'm right. But what changed your mind about Kamala Harris? Well, 28% of voters say they don't know who Kamala Harris is. Well, who is she after last night? Yeah, you in the front row. Well, who is she? Oh, I don't know. She's the thinker lady? What did she tell you last night that changed your mind? Nothing. So how did we lose? I agree with your point. I think there were a couple moments, and I think you and I mean, you're like, you are the master debater. You have to say those words. If you listen to my show, you know, don't say them fast.
I've been
together.
called worse.
You are the man. You have to say, but you did this for a living on TV in front of 4 million people a night. It's our instinct to go, gosh, you had it, like go for it. And I get it 100%. There were a couple answers that probably could have been tighter, but I feel pretty good. I'm not cocky about it. I don't want to hear any talk about a red wave. You're gonna get kicked in the nuts again if you keep talking about that. But I feel, sorry, I put a cup on, but I just like, I feel pretty good. Last night was at best a push.
It's interesting that you said that the Twitter, that X, that Elon Musk is a pivotal figure in this election. Can you flesh it out a little bit?
So I'm reading this article in the Washington Post, the democracy dies in the dark.
It's always the opposite, of course, as noted, of what they're saying.
Do you believe
But they are literally
Post?
an iron curtain over information. The point of the Washington Post is to hide reality from you, is to tell you that your eyes are lying to you.
Isn't it hilarious? Like they had the balls to put that on like their masthead, like democracy dies at the Washington Post. Like that's hilarious. I'm reading this piece the other day, and the headline is, it's the 1,000th piece with the same title. Elon Musk's misinformation about the elections, a threat to democracy. From the people who promoted the Russia hoax, the Hunter Biden's laptop was a Russian disinformation hoax. It was kind of hilarious. And I thought, and I know, Tucker, you and I actually discussed this on my show when you were kind enough to come on at the RNC. I thought to myself, like, folks, the demons are real, man. Evil's a very real thing. Evil's a very real thing. I was talking to this gentleman who runs a pro-life advocacy group, this guy Dan, who he advertises on our show too. And we're talking about a group of people right now who talk about the craziest things, like castrating kids in schools, showing them porn. What you said before, I've heard you say many times, and you're right, like this is the kind of stuff 30 years ago you'd be beaten up by the parents or arrested for doing, and everybody would celebrate you. And the thing about Elon that has them so threatened is Elon has provided a platform for the first time, and he's a self-admitted not conservative, he's just not a liberal either, that has them genuinely threatened because the liberals built this thing. They built essentially this new global, almost like cosmic town square with Starlink, right? They built this cosmic town square, which they thought mistakenly was going to create a monopoly over ideas for the next generation of kids. And what happened? This Tony Stark like billionaire comes in and buys the platform and says, listen, I'm not really a conservative, but those are crazy. And I'm gonna let you conservatives talk. And the entire world melted down. I mean, there is nothing that frightens the liberal right. Am I crazy? What is the liberal's biggest fear? The modern liberal, his biggest fear is the community note. There is nothing the liberal hates more than being embarrassed because they're not used to it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.